All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into some teachings from Ajahn Sumedho, a Western monk who spent years in the Thai forest tradition of Buddhism.
Yeah, and I think what's really cool is that he explains things in a way that's approachable, even if you're not a Buddhist scholar or a monk yourself.
Right, I mean, the title of this collection is The Sound of Silence.
Hmm.
And who doesn't want a little more silence in their life?
Especially these days.
Yeah, my mind sometimes feels like a popcorn machine that's been left on thoughts just popping up everywhere.
I can relate to that.
Maybe meditation can help me find the off switch.
It very well might. And, the Thai forest tradition really emphasizes this idea of taking refuge.
Okay, taking refuge.
Yeah, it's about finding an anchor in the midst of chaos. And that anchor has three aspects: the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha.
So the Buddha's, the teachings, and the community.
Exactly.
But help me out here. Isn't this like jumping into blind faith?
Not exactly. Think of it as consciously aligning yourself with wisdom and virtue. You're not blindly accepting anything, but choosing to move towards what leads to greater peace and understanding.
So I'm not just passively believing, but actively orienting myself towards something better. I like that.
That's the spirit.
And how does meditation fit into this taking refuge idea?
Well, meditation is where the rubber meets the road. It's the practice of finding that inner stability, that refuge within.
Okay, so getting practical.
Yeah, and in the Thai forest tradition, they emphasize breath-focused meditation called anapanasati.
Breath work. So like all those trendy breathing exercises I keep hearing about?
Similar, but the focus here is on simplicity and gentleness. You're simply observing the natural rhythm of your breath without judgment. And when your mind inevitably wanders, you gently guide it back.
Which it will. Mine has a PhD in wandering. But I have to admit, this sounds a lot harder than it seems.
It can be, Ajahn Sumedho compares the mind to a wild horse being harnessed for the first time.
Okay, wild horse. I like that imagery.
It takes practice, a gentle touch, and a lot of starting over.
Okay, so I'm picturing myself as a very patient horse whisperer.
Perfect.
And what happens as we get better at this taming the wild horse thing?
Well, you begin to see more clearly a concept of the Buddha called dukkha.
Dukkha.
Yeah. It's often translated as suffering, but it's really more about the inherent unsatisfactoriness of life.
You mean like that feeling when you finally get the thing you thought you really wanted and then it's not that great?
Exactly. It's the realization that things are constantly changing, that nothing is permanent, and this can lead to frustration and even suffering.
Hmm. That makes sense.
We're kind of always chasing after something, thinking it will finally make us happy.
Right, the next vacation, the next promotion, the next gadget.
But then it never quite lives up to the hype, does it?
Nope. And honestly, the idea that everything is impermanent and leads to suffering sounds a little depressing.
Yeah.
How does meditation help with that?
That's where it gets really interesting. Meditation isn't about eliminating dukkha, because that's impossible, but about changing how we relate to it.
Right. Changing our relationship to suffering instead of trying to get rid of it.
Exactly. There's a story Ajahn Sumedho tells about a mother who brought her sick baby to the monastery, distraught over her child's suffering.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
It is. And Ajahn Sumedho explains that the baby is suffering simply because it was born, because being human means experiencing sickness, old age, and eventually death.
Wow, that's heavy.
These are just part of the experience.
So dukkha isn't some kind of punishment or cosmic debt. It's just the way things are.
Exactly. And meditation can help us accept this truth without falling into despair or denial. We learn to see things clearly and work with reality instead of fighting against it.
So we're not trying to run away from suffering, but learning to face it head on with a clear mind. That actually makes me feel more empowered, not less.
That's the power of understanding.
And this understanding of dukkha leads us to the heart of Buddhist teachings, the Four Noble Truths.
Right. You got it. They provide a framework for understanding and overcoming suffering.
I have to be honest, the Four Noble Truths have always seemed a bit doom and gloom to me. What makes them so noble?
Think of them as a diagnosis and treatment plan. The first truth acknowledges the reality of dukkha. The second identifies its cause, which is clinging and craving. We want things to be different than they are, and this causes us to suffer.
So it's that constant wanting and grasping that's the problem, not the things themselves.
You nailed it. It's our attachment to things, to outcomes, to ideas that creates the suffering.
And the third noble truth is where things start to look upright.
Absolutely. It states that there is an end to suffering, a state of liberation called nibbana.
Okay, so there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm listening.
And the fourth noble truth outlines the path to reach that liberation, the eightfold path, which of course includes meditation.
I'm sensing a theme here.
There's definitely a connection.
So meditation is more than just relaxation. It's a way to change our fundamental relationship with the world and ourselves. We go from ah to aha.
That's a great way to put it. It's about waking up to reality as it is and seeing things with greater clarity and understanding.
I like that, waking up to reality.
But it's not just about the techniques. There's also a deeper level of awareness that the Thai forest tradition emphasizes called sati sampajanya.
Sati what now? Break that down for me.
It's often translated as intuitive awareness. It's not just noticing things, but seeing them with a deeper understanding of their context, their impermanence, and their interconnectedness.
So it's like mindfulness, but with high definition.
Mindfulness HD. I like that.
And how do we develop this high def awareness? More breathing exercises.
Meditation is a key part, but the real magic happens when we take this awareness off the cushion and into our daily lives.
So it's about being present and aware even when I'm not sitting in lotus pose trying to empty my mind.
Exactly. It's about bringing that same quality of attention to everything we do, from washing the dishes to having a difficult conversation. We start to see things differently, react differently, and ultimately experience life differently.
So I'm not just meditating to feel calmer. I'm training myself to navigate life with more wisdom and clarity. That's pretty powerful.
It is. And to really dive deep into this practice, the Thai forest tradition emphasizes the importance of monastic life as a training ground.
Hold on, you're saying I need to shave my head and move into a monastery to get the full benefit?
Not necessarily, but monastic life provides an ideal environment for intensive practice. Ajahn Sumedho himself initially struggled with monastic life, particularly the communal aspect, as he craved solitude.
Even a seasoned monk felt that way. That makes me feel better about my aversion to communal bathrooms.
We all have our preferences.
But seriously, if most of us aren't living in a monastery, how do these teachings apply to us regular folks?
That's a great question, and one we'll unpack as we continue this deep dive into the sound of silence. So as we go deeper into these teachings from Ajahn Sumedho, remember that the techniques he's talking about, they're not just for relaxation or stress relief.
Okay, so there's more to it than just chilling out.
Way more. It's about gaining insights into how your mind actually works, the nature of consciousness.
Whoa, okay, you've got my attention.
The Thai forest tradition really emphasizes direct experience, seeing for yourself instead of just accepting dogma or belief.
So it's like testing the teachings in a mental laboratory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as you practice anapanasati, watching the breath, you start to notice all the mental gymnastics your mind goes through. Thoughts pop up like uninvited guests. Emotions ebb and flow like the tide.
You're telling me my mind is like Grand Central Station sometimes.
But here's the thing. That very chaos becomes the starting point for understanding.
Okay, so the chaos is actually helpful.
In a way, you see all these mental fireworks going off, but you realize through practice, they aren't you.
If they aren't me, then what are they?
They're just events happening in the field of awareness. Think of it like clouds passing through the sky.
Okay, so the clouds are the thoughts and emotions, and the sky is.
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And it's one the Thai forest tradition encourages you to explore through meditation.
Right.
With practice, you might start to glimpse a sense of awareness that's beyond the mental chatter. Ajahn Sumedho calls it the sound of silence.
Is that like some mystical Zen riddle?
Not really. It's more about direct experience. It's the underlying awareness that's always there even when your thoughts are making a racket.
So it's like tuning into a different frequency, turning down the static to hear the clear signal beneath.
Exactly. As you get more in tune with this sound of silence, you relate to your thoughts and feelings differently. They become passing clouds, not the whole sky.
So I'm not, my thoughts are my feelings. That's kind of mind-blowing.
It's a radical shift in perspective, but one that can lead to a lot of freedom and peace.
I can see how that would be incredibly freeing, not getting swept away by every little thought or emotion.
Exactly. It's about becoming the observer of your mind, not just the reactor.
That makes a lot of sense.
And that's the core of the Thai forest tradition's approach to meditation.
So it's not just about techniques, it's about a fundamental shift in how we experience ourselves and the world.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another key Buddhist teaching, anicca, which means impermanence.
Anicca, impermanence.
Yeah, it's the recognition that everything is in constant flux. Nothing is fixed or permanent.
Well, my mood swings can definitely attest to that. Up and down like a roller coaster.
Right. We tend to resist change. We want things to stay the same, but that's just not how reality works.
So what's the alternative? Just surrender to the chaos?
Not quite. It's about recognizing impermanence as a fundamental truth and learning to work with it instead of against it.
Okay, so instead of resisting change, we learn to embrace it.
Beautifully put. This acceptance of impermanence allows us to let go of clinging to things, outcomes, even our own identities.
Letting go of our identities. That sounds a little scary.
It can be, but it's also incredibly liberating because who we think we are is often just a collection of stories and beliefs that we've accumulated over time.
So if I let go of those stories, then who am I?
That's the journey of self-discovery that meditation can guide you on.
A journey of self-discovery. I like that. Sounds like there's a lot to unpack here.
There is, and it's a lifelong exploration. But the rewards are immeasurable. Greater peace, clarity, compassion, and ultimately a deeper connection to yourself and the world around you.
I'm definitely feeling inspired to keep exploring this path.
That's great to hear. And remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about showing up for yourself day after day and taking those small steps towards greater awareness and understanding.
Small steps towards greater awareness and understanding. Okay, I can do that.
And the Thai forest tradition offers some really practical tools and techniques to support you along the way.
Speaking of practical tools and techniques, we've talked a lot about the philosophy and the deeper concepts. But I'm curious, what are some of the specific things that people can actually do to start incorporating these teachings into their lives?
That's a great question, and I think that's a perfect segue into our next discussion.
Okay, so we're back, and I've been thinking about something you said earlier about finding that sound of silence, even when there's so much mental noise.
It's a powerful image, isn't it?
It is. It's like this underlying peace that's always there if we can just tune into it.
Exactly. And that's what meditation helps us do. It's not about forcing our minds to be quiet, but about recognizing that stillness is already present beneath the surface.
So we're not trying to create silence. We're uncovering it.
Precisely. And that takes practice. It's like training a muscle.
And what about that other concept, sati sampajanya, intuitive awareness?
Right. That's a key piece of the puzzle, too.
It's like mindfulness, but with more depth and context.
Mindfulness HD, as we called it.
I like that analogy.
So with sati sampajanya, you're not just noticing your breath. We're also aware of the thoughts and feelings that arise, the sensations in your body, the sounds around you. It's a more holistic awareness.
So it's like expanding our field of attention.
And the amazing thing is that this awareness isn't limited to our meditation practice. It can spill over into our daily lives.
But being present when I'm talking to my kids, when I'm walking the dog, even when I'm stuck in traffic.
Yes, exactly. It's about bringing that same quality of attention to everything we do.
Which honestly sounds exhausting.
It can be at first, but with practice, it becomes more effortless. It's like learning to ride a bike. Once you get the hang of it, you don't have to think about it so much. You just flow.
I like that, flowing through life with awareness.
And remember the teachings on dukkha, impermanence? That can be really helpful in navigating the ups and downs of daily life.
Because let's face it, life is full of ups and downs.
It is. But when we remember that everything is constantly changing, we're less likely to get attached to the good times or devastated by the bad times.
So it's about riding the waves instead of getting pulled under.
Exactly. And that's where that space between stimulus and response comes in.
You mean that moment when something happens and we have a choice about how to react?
Yes. That gap is where our freedom lies. With practice, we can learn to pause before reacting, to observe our thoughts and feelings, and choose a skillful response.
So instead of yelling at the driver who cut me off, I can take a breath and remember that they're probably just having a bad day.
Exactly. Or maybe they're rushing to the hospital or something. We never really know what's going on in other people's lives.
That's true. It's like that saying, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about.
And when we approach others with that kind of understanding and compassion, it can really transform our relationships.
This is not just about our own inner peace. It's about creating more peace in the world around us.
Absolutely. And that's where the concept of karma comes in.
Karma, you mean what goes around comes around?
It's more nuanced than that. It's about understanding that our actions have consequences, both for ourselves and others.
So if I act with kindness and compassion, I'm more likely to experience those things in return.
It's not a simple equation, but there's definitely a ripple effect. Our actions create waves that spread out and touch the lives of others.
That's a beautiful way to think about it.
And it's a reminder that we have the power to choose actions that contribute to a more peaceful and harmonious world.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from breath work to intuitive awareness to dukkha, impermanence, karma, and even compassion.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
I know. There's so much to explore in the Thai forest tradition.
But I think the key takeaway is this. These teachings aren't just abstract ideas. They're practical tools that we can use to live more fulfilling and meaningful lives.
And it all starts with that simple act of paying attention.
Exactly. By cultivating awareness both on and off the cushion, we can tap into that wellspring of peace and wisdom that's always available to us.
And maybe even find a little more silence in the process.
Perhaps.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and expertise.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, may your journey be filled with awareness, compassion, and that beautiful sound of silence.